Welcome to the Ultimate Property Management Virtual Masterclass Part 2, brought to you by Real Estate Investor. Today's masterclass is officially sponsored by We Connect You, developers of intelligent property management software to enable you to scale and deliver more value to your clients. We are focusing on body corporates and homeowner association managers. So we know that property management is an important factor in owning and investing in property today. Trustees, directors, owners, and landlords are demanding greater value from property professionals. They require more transparent and relevant reporting, tech-enabled workflows, and online portals for increased convenience.
So today we're speaking about online meetings, sectional title meetings, and I will mention homeowners associations. I think it's important to note, and from what Dani said, that when you're wanting to run a business, and a truly good and successful business, you need to problem solve on a consistent basis. It's not what you do occasionally, it's what you do every day. So I think the online meeting space has seen a number of managing agents that I know becoming quite disillusioned. It's like almost a hassle. Oh no, now we've got an online meeting, so we don't only have to collect their levies and assist them with this and assist them with Poppy and assist them with that. Now we've also got to assist them with technology. Well, I think we need to stop viewing things like that. And I think we need to get excited about it and say, well, this is a huge opportunity for us to get into this space and to distinguish ourselves and to make things happen and to make things work for our clients. So we need to be much, much more animated and to convey that kind of thing to the clients. So we're talking online meetings. We can say that there's also virtual meetings. And today we're going to talk about the legalities. We're going to talk about the benefits, the downside, voting, proxies, and the chairman's conduct at these kind of meetings as well. But first, let's interrogate a little bit the annual general meeting and the legality of the annual general meeting, how it all works. Managing agents actually from NAMA, the National Association of Managing Agents, asked me to put something together for their notice board, talking about meetings and annual general meetings. Are there any other innovative ways of having annual general meetings? Can you do it by round robin? Now with COVID and with the pandemic, how are we going to go about dealing with these meetings? And there are actually only 3 legal ways to have an AGM. So let's start off with that. And the first one is it's an in-person meeting. A collective gathering is still necessary because you need to convey and disseminate information. We need to create dialogue. We need to have that one-on-one personal, interaction with people. It is really important, but at the same time, you've got your regulations. We are on amended regulation stage 2 now of COVID, so you can't have really big meetings. They will be sort of stopped at certain times. So you're going to have to look at other ways, and that's why our legislators almost had some sort of premonition a couple of years ago in drafting legislation, which is pretty much up to date. And that legislation now is in terms of Management Rule 17.2. The second way that you can hold a meeting is you can say the body corporate is not obliged to hold an annual general meeting at all if before 1 month of the end of the financial year, all members in writing waive the right to the meeting and consent in writing to motions that deal with all items of business that must be transacted at the general meeting. So that's one way of holding the annual general meeting, as long as you get everybody to consent to waiving that meeting and everyone to consent to signing all those motions that go with the AGM agenda, which is very specifically set out, as all our managers will know, in the Sectional Title Schemes Management Act. So that's the second way that you can do it. The third way, and this is where I say that the legislators had a premonition, the third way is in terms of Management Rule 17.10. So here's our statute setting out exactly how you can have a meeting. And what it says is that a body corporate may make arrangements for attendance at an annual or special general meeting by telephone or any other method, if the method is, 1, accessible to all members and other persons entitled to attend the meeting, and permits all persons participating in the meeting to communicate with each other during the meeting, and permits the chairperson to confirm with reasonable certainty the identity of the participants. So if all those things are in place, you can have online virtual meetings. So we use Zoom, for example, we use Microsoft Teams, and all of us have become sort of semi-experts in trying to navigate these waters and calling everybody, and can you hear me, and are you muted, and aren't you muted? It's been a good journey, quite fun, and sometimes rather challenging. So we can do that. The difficulty, and we've said Management Rule 1711 says, a person who attends a meeting as provided under Sub-Rule 10 is considered present in person at the meeting. So if you, on your Zoom link from London, you're considered present at your annual or special general meeting. What we found in the past is that, dependent on the agendas of either the trustees or the owners in a body corporate meeting, you need to be quite sensitive as to sometimes the reluctance to hold meetings. People will say, oh, we don't have access to computers, we don't have data, we don't have this, electronically we're not happy. And already what I found, I asked one of our colleagues here at BBM Attorneys, I asked her, well, what do you guys do in your sectional title scheme? How do you deal with online meetings? Do you have them or whatever? And I've got it here. She wrote to me and she said, hi, Marina, not really. We don't really have meetings. We've got a few people in the complex who despise computers and electronic equipment. It's only amongst the directors that we have our Zoom meetings. So, we've still got this reluctance to get involved, and I think that's very sad. We need to use our industry to drive the fact that there shouldn't be many other options. While we can have in-house meetings, etc., we really don't want to lose out on that communication. This is the future. This is the way to go. I mean, what an absolute pleasure. So that is really the third way in which you can have a meeting. So special general meeting, I've said, is Management Rule 17, 10, and 11. That's what we've just discussed. With trustees meetings, we've discussed in Management Rule 9A, and what that basically states is that trustees need to almost use their discretion to regulate meetings. So at this stage, trustees meetings are pretty much within the sort of realms of how trustees want to deal with it. Maybe they want to have phone calls, maybe they want to have in-house meetings. And just hot off the press, from an excerpt in the Community Scheme Ombuds Service magazine, is what they said in one of their articles. I'd like to read it to you. And this is specifically with regards to trustees meetings. The CSAS acknowledges that there are situations where persons may not have access to electronic media, or that they may not be conversant with such media, provided that the number of trustees is sufficiently limited and that all necessary precautions are taken to mitigate health risks. Trustees meetings can take place in person. So that's, again, all depending on a number of factors. All right, now I'd like to talk about the benefits of online meetings. So online meetings reduce risk of spreading COVID-19 virus. That's got to be our top priority. I mean, surely, if you're not going to have that as a priority, then unfortunately you're not headed in the right direction. Online meetings push us into the future of meetings, and again, as Marco also said, this is where it's going. Ultimately, we're not going backwards, we're only going forwards. The sky's the limit. They encourage inclusivity. And it's a word, again, I remember Dani from We Connect you using in one of our previous workshops, and it really resonated with me. Inclusivity is all important. At the end of the day, even if you have large sectional title schemes and homeowners associations where you've got so many hundreds of people, you're never going to get this kind of inclusivity at another meeting. So the benefit is there. We've said it makes it easier to form quorums. There's no need to reconvene. I mean, how many times have people said to me, Marina, please try to put things forward from a legislative view to the powers that be to say we can't get our quorums. We've got to do our meetings as a matter of course. It's basically you just schedule it for the next week. So this is avoiding that. No traveling costs, no traffic jams. And for me, personally, the best thing is that people are on time, usually. If you're 1 minute late for an online or virtual meeting, and everybody's looking into the camera saying, oh, where's this one, where's that one? So that really helps. Meetings can be recorded, all important, as you know. The flow of the meeting is improved, and the fewer irrelevant items are discussed. There's less chit-chat, and you guys know the people at meetings who want to ventilate all the problems they've ever had over the year at the meetings, whether it be a special meeting or a general meeting. You can keep it crisp and short. I've had one of our managing agents on our Women in Sectional Title webinars. It said to me that the meetings don't go over 40 minutes now. Before, they used to be 3-4 hours. And something I like is that suppliers or service providers can actually just zoom in to a meeting and put forward their presentations or present their proposals. So that's really awesome. And portfolio managers can also run multiple meetings, and I think that's great. So you've got particularly women portfolio managers who can run meetings at home. What a win. I mean, ultimately, that's why managing agents have a high turnover often of portfolio managers, because they simply can't go up and down all over the country with these meetings. The downside of online meetings, lack of access to computers, to internet, but there I would really encourage people to say, well, at the end of the day, why don't you look at doing hybrid meetings? So meetings where people share in one unit, there might be 3 people. One person's got access to the computer and the rest are just sitting socially distanced around that person. There's really, for me, there's no excuse. I think it's pretty feeble for people to say, oh, well, we can't have electronic meetings, we're just not geared. I think it's time to get geared. Of course, load shedding. I mean, even today we've got our issues with load shedding, and it's just another obstacle, but nothing we can't get over. Data costs negligible, really. Connectivity problems can be a problem with legal compliance. So, for example, you form a quorum at the very beginning of are disconnected for some reason, and you've got to take a few people online. What do you do about that? Well, ultimately, you need to know that Management Rule 19 of the Sectional Title Schemes Management Act says that you can only transact or make decisions when there's a quorum present. So your quorum, it wouldn't be legally valid if you had been disconnected. Of course, the downside is also that online meetings can be used as a tool to restrict discussion. And we'll talk about that when we talk about the chairperson and how they need to control a meeting. So, it's pretty much, you can't debate maybe as vociferously as you would have liked to if you were in an online meeting. But for me, that's not actually a bad thing. Couple of suggestions over the last few weeks from all our managing agent clients and people that we've been speaking to as owners or trustees. Practice your meetings, practice online meetings. That is really something to look at, because if you do, you'll be far readier when the time comes. Get people prepared. So send out schedules, send out packs, send out how to schedule. It's an opportunity for people to learn how to use Zoom. It's an opportunity for you to put branding on these type of things when you send it out. So you as the managing agents are the first people who've actually sent this out and are showing an interest in other people learning about technology. Email resolutions that are to be decided on, send them out. There's less debate and talking around it at the meeting. People have seen it, they understand it, and most importantly, ask them to send you questions around it so that they can be answered before the time. Get experts to streamline in-meeting functionality. And that I've found in our webinars and the things that we're putting out from the attorney side, you need experts to surround you with these things. You know, you can't do it all on your own, and it just makes things better. And take advantage of post-meeting communication. What a great opportunity for you to send out an action item list after the online meeting. I think it shows you really up to date and quite trendy. So proxies, something else, online meetings, people are worried about proxies. Nothing to be worried about. At the end of the day, you treat proxies in the normal course. Section 6.5 of the Sectional Title Schemes Management Act, and you read that together with Management Rule 25. We know that proxies must be in writing and must be delivered to the body corporate 48 hours before the meeting, or handed to the chairperson before at the start of the meeting. I think that's really only when your tricky start, you know, could get tricky. You need to try and email those proxies before the start of the online meeting. Otherwise, people could wonder where they are. Options for body corporate with regard to voting. And this is really the trickiest side of online meetings. Your voting, you need, again, expertise when it comes to voting. And options for bodies corporate have been, for example, pre-meeting electronic voting. And that's taken off certainly in South Africa. You must remember, we've got plenty of companies offering voting software, and I think We Connect You are certainly great in that regard. Pre-meeting electronic voting is taken over in the world. And in New South Wales, for example, in Australia, you've got a situation where you can't use pre-meeting electronic voting for certain instances. That's been legislated. In South Africa, we haven't done the legislation, created it yet for electronic voting. It should be coming soon. But you can even use the chat function on conference facility, you know, as a very, very basic. And we all know it's mainly by PQ that you're voting now. So instead of, you know, having calculators and all sorts of things, get onto the apps and become professional. Okay, so now we want to talk about running this meeting. And it's quite a good meme. It says you can mute yourself or we can mute you. The choice is yours. How do you control a meeting? And that's important because the chairperson has that. And the chairperson's role would be great if everybody looked at Management Rule 18.3 of the Act. And I've taken out a few excerpts of a few sections, which says that a trustee must maintain order, regulate the orderly expression of views, and guide the members and other participants through the business of the meeting in accordance with the common law of meetings. They must act fairly, impartially, and courteously to all members and others entitled to attend the meeting, and they must ensure that all members and other persons entitled to speak are able to express their views without unnecessary disturbance or interruptions, and they must settle disputes by giving rulings on points of order. Well, that really cuts out any chair people who want to mute everybody. And I'm sure if you haven't heard of this, then I'd be surprised, because many of my chair people would say, well, you know, it's so lovely running these meetings because I just mute everyone and we just say what we have to say and then people vote. Well, you're not obviously allowed to do that. It's very tricky to do that. Before I go on to the future of online meetings and where everything's going, I'd like to just mention, for those of you that run homeowners associations, where do homeowners associations fit into this whole picture? Well, they're run by the Companies Act. I've always said, and I'll say it again, clumsy and awkward vehicle to run a property company or a property like an estate. But the homeowners associations are governed in general by the Companies Act. They have a memorandum of incorporation. If the memorandum of incorporation disallows online meetings, then you're not allowed to run online meetings. But that could then be in conflict with our national legislation. So my advice to you would be to look at the MOI and to amend MOIs to almost poach a couple of the sectional title bits and pieces of legislation to streamline online meetings in homeowners associations. Also, from an international point of view, I'd like to just add that Marco is correct when he says there are a lot of innovations and exciting things that they do overseas. I'd also like to say, though, that South Africa is very far ahead in many, many ways, particularly with, for example, our Ombud service, where we've managed to finance an entire service. Also, we've managed to legislate with regard to electronic meetings earlier than a lot of countries, like, for example, Singapore and even Australia have done, with them scrambling in the COVID-19 pandemic to put in bylaws and to get in rules and regulations for electronic meetings. So very, very good to South Africa for doing those things. So the future, where's the future leading when we talk about virtual or online meetings? Well, 5G networks are going to redefine our connectivity quality with regard to stability and substantially increased speeds improving, and connectivity to become a thing of the past. And virtual and augmented reality have already hit our consumer markets. Microsoft HoloLens is a computer where you've got a computer within your headgear, and participants in videos can have physical presence in a virtual space. So can we afford not to go into this exciting space? I mean, just have a look at this. If you look at on the left of your screen, you've got this concept of holoportation, where you've got technology using 3D images where you can actually compress bodies and avatar-like sort of people, and they can all meet. You could even choose your avatar. These are going to be meetings in the future. It's amazing. Look at the second little picture there of somebody being, it's almost transported into somebody else's house. So you have a hologram that's really coming into your house. You can have all the trustees just sort of beaming in, like beam me in, Scotty, into your house. Although I don't know if you'd want them there. Maybe you just prefer the online meeting space. And look at the picture of the car. That's Ford. Ford love this kind of technology with holograms, and they've worked with Microsoft. So basically they create overlays, and they create management, and they create all sorts of really innovative collaborations by utilizing holograms. And I think these things can be utilized in our space. I mean, if you look at that headgear, and if you think of those people in this image as trustees, those trustees are going to be able to put up a hologram of an extension in a sectional title scheme, so they can see whether or not they like the extension. Or they're going to be able to say, oh, well, we've got to walk around the scheme as a hologram and see what maintenance needs to be done here, or how to work out our gardening, in the scheme, and how to do a whole lot of things. So for me personally, I would agree with the one-hit wonder Timbuk3, who sang, "The future's so bright, I got to wear shades." I think that's where we're going. We've got to drive it. We've got to be innovative. And I'm excited, and I think as managing agents, you and us as attorneys, we're very lucky and very privileged to work in this industry. And thank you again to the organizers, to all the presenters, and to the sponsors for creating this potent sounding board in our real estate industry. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Marina. I think that was really awesome insight specifically to meetings. Wonderful. And I think the knowledge that you're imparting to the body corporates, homeowners associations, is really awesome information. Thank you very much once again.